Happy post-Thanksgiving there, folks. Hopefully your turkey day left you in a food coma, much like it did for me, and that your family and everybody actually survived this time, and everybody had a good Thanksgiving holiday. So, on that note, let's start with an unboxing here that I actually just got. This is new to me, interesting light. There is some history of these little pancake lights, but this one here is a Sho-me or Able 2 brand, whatever you want to call it here, model 01-0172 Pancake light. I was always kind of interested by these lights. I'm not a big beacon guy, I've said this before, but these neat little lights are always interesting, and I figured, you know, let's make a video on it. But this is new to me. Pretty much had it out of the box. I'll unpack it here while we take a look at it, but I'll talk about a little bit of a history on these pancake lights. Is personally, if I was still an active firefighter, I would run this light just because it's quirky, and I find these lights to be quirky. But these lights are based off of, I think, the original Smith & Wesson model L-11 or L-11. I'm not an expert on this, so feel free to correct me in the comments. What is it? I'm just going to go by what I know of these lights. The Smith & Wesson lights, the L-11s, were actually very good lights. They were very effective for their time. I still think they're effective now. They're just harder and harder to find, as obviously they're long out of production, and you know, people that have them are collecting them and they go from there. Smith & Wesson, I believe, sold the design to Federal. There's a bit of a rabbit hole there, and I'm not going to go too far down that, but sure, you guys can go in there and do some research on your own. But there were some other companies that picked this up, including SVP. Southern Vehicle Products actually also had a light very similar to this. It was the model 1168. The 1168 was another very good light. It was a very good, well-made light. First generation lights used a friction drive similar to the Federal Fireballs. The second and newer generations used the worm gear with a, basically a motor, a worm gear, and then a cog or a gear underneath to spin the reflector. The first generation lights also had metal reflectors. The newer lights had plastic, so you kind of had a whole lot of what I like to call the made in China syndrome coming at that point, where you had other companies like Star, Sho-me, so on and so forth, that made a light. I don't think this is a cheap light, but this is definitely, I don't think this light is made as well as the first gens. But we're going to take a look here because I believe this is a newer generation light. So let me go ahead and get this unboxed. We'll take a look at what's in the content, and we'll be right back. So coming into this here too, like I said, I'm not an expert on these pancake lights, so feel free to correct me if what I said before is wrong. I did not want to go full on down the rabbit hole. These lights are neat, but I'm not interested in learning the beginning of time through them. But here we go. We got new light here. Gonna do some unboxing. Obviously, as you can see, we've got blue. I like blue. Where I'm from, this is the volunteer light color, so blue is very easy to come by. Again, looks like we have our original lighter plug here, so I'm going to put this down. Yeah, this is definitely brand new. There we go. Lighter plug, probably just a warning saying, you know, blah, 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 blah. Interesting. I get to discover this along with you guys. Do not remove this tag. Oh, noes. Don't do it. Don't remove that tag. If you do so, your light will probably catch fire. Anyway, so we got some more stuff in my box of surprises. Looks like this is a mount of some sort, and then probably the gasket for the light, or a cover. Could be too. Good question. I don't know. Again, this is the first time I'm seeing this. It almost looks like it's a cover, because it's not rubber. So, interesting. And then obviously bottom of the box, and our instructions, and probably an installation kit. So let's take a look as I unfold this. Quite interesting. Again, I find something interesting, I'm going to make a video about it. I found something interesting, and there we go. So, Sho-me Pancake Light, 01-01.0172. It's been factory tested, blah, blah, blah. There's your instructions for how to mount it, so on and so forth, and the diagram so you can bolt it in there. And what else we got? At the bottom of my box. Ooh, a warning. There we go. One-handed. Another Sho-me. blah, blah, blah. Something about airbags. In all honesty, install this light at your peril and don't remove the tag. Otherwise, everything's going to blow up and it'll self-destruct. Ah, I made it funny. Anyway, all right, let's get this light out and power it up, because that's what everybody's here for, right? So let's do that. All right. So here we got it out of the box. Again, brand new old stock. Give it a quick inspection. You can definitely see it's the newer generation light with the motor, the worm gear, and the drive axle, or the drive gear. In these lights, unfortunately, UV breaks those down. For anybody familiar with Code 3 and stuff like that, you'll know that they pretty much go real quick. In other words, they dry themselves out. That looks like the bulb in there is definitely a twist on. I don't even know what kind of bulb that is. I'd have to take a look. That might be like a 795. I don't think so, though, because it's got a I don't know, maybe it's an H1. That's a good question. I'm not 100% certain, but what's interesting, if I catch this in the sun the right way, is you'll see that for a Sho-me light, the lens is S&W VP. Gives me a model number there. See if I can do this with one hand, shaky cam. And there it is. So the lens was made in Florida, SVP light. And the light itself is a Sho-me, so I'm just curious if it's a rebranding, complete rebranding, or what. Definitely the cheaper version of these lights. Again, I don't think these lights are garbage. I would still run this. I'm not going to lie. However, there is one thing worth pointing out. Bear with me a moment as I do one hand. On the original SVP lights, and the only reason why I know this is because I have a couple of them myself, because again, I find these to be interesting. There's a counterweight that comes off this and sits about here, and it stops the whole light from wobbling as it's spinning around. As you can see, this light does not have that counterweight. You would actually see it come off the front and hang over on this side, and it's not. So there's no counterweight on this, which is interesting. But on that note, let's go ahead and get this plugged in and get some shots. Pardon my finger. Get some shots and get it lit up. And there we go. We got it spinning. It's a little noisy. Interesting light. See if we can zoom in on it. Quite interesting. A little bit of shaky cam. Again, not much to add to this other than the fact that Sho-me is a rebranding of the original SVP light, which pretty much any company is at this point. I would consider this kind of like a China brand light at this point, due to the fact of how new it is. And again, you can see as I come along, you can see it spinning around. It's a little noisy. It's not thrown off balance, but the motor, your worm gear there on the right, spinning it. It looks like it'll do the job. Again, I wouldn't knock this. If I was still active, I may actually use this light, but I'm going to throw it back in the box. As to what I'm going to do with this, I don't know. Who knows? If somebody's interested in it, they can drop me a line, but it's new old stock, and at this point here, I think I'm just going to put it up on the shelf. But again, happy belated Turkey Day, folks. I'll leave you guys with another shot. Actually, give you the 360. Why not, right? So, final shot here, just another around the world. Maybe in the darkness you can kind of see a little bit better. It's effective. I mean, it works. Like I said, I would say that the newer lights are not as well made as the older lights are, but still, for what it is, it's an interesting find. But anyway, again, happy belated Thanksgiving, folks. Hope everybody's holiday was good, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Stampede Valkyrie out.